of a sorcerer is unknowable.
Good evening. This is Maestro Cortello with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Tonight, we have a high-level 3v3 on Calderis Refinery. First, we have Kalzi4 as Sindri, Trollface, Chaos Sorcerer. This lovely hero has some offensive spells, long-range Doom Bolts, Warp Fire, Mind Control, Exploding Guardsman. I love him. We also have none other than xHolyHammerx, now seem to be maining the Warp Spider Exarch, a teleporting ranged hero, good for harassing. Not really that powerful, at least not to start out, but certainly has some interesting abilities in the late game. Their last teammate on the blue team is this really big orc, Boris T Rat. This very tough hero, in my opinion, one of the best in the game. Just very tanky, can be upgraded to do a lot of damage. On the other side, we have Angry Bird as this pink orc commando knob. This sneaky guy with a powerful twin-link bolter to start out, has 100% fire on the move accuracy. Very good for bleeding models off of high model, low HP squads. Also very sneaky and has some interesting abilities with his knives, explosives, and etc. Let's see, we also have Floid as this Tyrant Hive Tyrant. This astoundingly powerful commander, toughest to start out, and can be upgraded to be even tougher. And then finally, we have Dark Riku as the Grey Knight Bro Captain. Also a very tough hero. Some people think he's a little too tough, a little too powerful. Running up right here, and he's not even slow anymore. Between We Are the Hammer and some of his other stuff. All right. So Bro Captain from Dark Riku gets forced off, but these Tyranids coming in to pick up the slack. And wow, look at that huge push! Just in the time I was introducing all the heroes and the players, the map control has gone almost fully in favor of the red team. Very good, very big push from them. HolyHammer's Warp Spider Exarch gonna go down already, I think. Alright, I think he's just barely gonna get out of there. But that Warp Spider Exarch teleported in there to kind of tie up Termagants, knock some of them over, but ultimately he was just in against too many units. And wow, this natural power from the blue team is not even captured. But Angry Bird loses a Shooter Boy squad, so Boris T Rat kind of answering back there. Takes out, I think that was our first squad loss of the game. And now these Inquisitorial Stormtroopers actually running up so they can force melee this Guardian weapon team, but they're taking so many losses on the approach. They certainly will win that fight, but they're taking too many losses, and we might see another squad wipe right here. We need something to shoot at those. All right, those Stormtroopers do get out of there. I think they could have been wiped, though. Maybe even force melee from the Chaos Space Marines and these Noise Marines. We actually see Noise Marines out from Kalzi4. That's kind of a flamer unit from Chaos. It's actually probably the least used Tier 1 unit you'll see from Chaos. In fact, probably the least used unit in general. It can still certainly be very useful and very good, but just kind of situational, and it doesn't always fit into your unit composition. And this Commando knob, I see that he's mostly been in cover, which is very good. He will be really good at bleeding both Shooter and Slugger models, and he even has grenades right now. So those grenades will be just a good anti-blob damage. And these Sluggers right here, those Sluggers from Angry Bird are actually going to beat the Sluggers from Boris T Rat. They had more health. They also have the Burnas. And then all the support right here, especially from this Commando knob with the grenades. So Blue has kind of pushed out a little bit. They're going to get a 2-cap now. They're going to have their first 2-cap of the game and going to start ticking down victory points in their favor. Kalzi4 has Eternal War on his lone Chaos Space Marine squad. They are now bashing this generator. He has grenade launchers on one Heretic squad and is getting grenade launchers on both Heretic squads. So I saw this recently in a replay with Osinski. I'm a little surprised to see it from Kalzi4. I mean, certainly grenade launcher Heretics are good, but Kalzi4 might have a little trouble dealing with melee, since he doesn't really have good melee counters. His best melee counter, I guess, is just that he can use the ability from the Chaos Heretics, since it is a disruption ability, but it's going to be a little tougher to use that than melee Heretics. It is a skill shot, so there is the potential that he might just miss, period. These Noise Marines. So Noise Marines They do flamer damage. They also, once they hit a unit, that unit will not be able to fire its ranged weapons. These grenade launcher heretics do a lot of good damage to infantry units of all kinds, but especially bunched up, high model, low HP infantry. But the Guardian weapon team sets up right in the face of that strike squad. I especially find it surprising that Kalzi4 is going for all that ranged, or all those grenade launcher heretics in a lane against Dark Riku, who only has a few units, and he only has those, I don't know, lost my train of thought. Anyway, Tyranids in the middle, gonna meet up with these Chaos, these double heretics, double grenade launcher heretics, and now we have a flank, flanked by those Tyranids. That grenade launcher, that Guardian weapon team could not stay in there any longer, and HolyHammer nades his own Banshees. Man, HolyHammer is definitely a little bit rusty. A lone model on that Chaos Heretic squad just gonna... Oh! It looked like they were gonna get out of there, but that one leap from the Warrior Brew just took them out. And we have a hero wipe over here. Boris T Rat's Warboss already on the floor. As well as Kalzi4's Sorcerer was on the floor, but he got him back up. So the red team is certainly being really aggressive. They're definitely winning overall. And we already have a Las Cannon Rhino out for Dark Riku, or as I like to call it sometimes, the Tier 2 Predator. And that's kind of an exaggeration, but I mean the Las Cannons are good. Wow, look at that Heretic give from the Las Cannon. It's really good. I was about to add some kind of qualifier like it's really good but for now I'm just going to say it's really good. We just saw right there, it took out 6 Heretic models in one shot. So those Heretics, they are kind of squishy, very squishy. With 75 health per model, they do have the lowest per model health in the game, although they are... As a squad, they do have more health than, say, a scout squad. And Kalzi4 is still in tier... Yeah, he's still in tier 1, so he does not have any AV yet. There's not a whole lot... There's nothing he can do about this Predator. And this Predator should actually stop chasing down Noise Marines and should start hitting generators. AV weapons are very good against generators. And it looks like the Battle of the Orcs right here has kind of been favoring Angry Bird. Wow, Slugga's almost dead. Sluggas from Boris get wiped. Just all that range fire from both sides. Sluggas are just such a high DPS ranged unit. And then Orcs themselves are pretty weak. They're not very durable. So an Orcs versus Orcs fight is there's gonna be a lot of death really quickly. Like, Guardsmen die quickly, but they don't really do as much damage as Orcs. Same goes for Eldar. And this Bro Captain, now upgraded to the Nemesis Demon Hammer. That's definitely not the most common upgrade you see for the Brother Captain as far as weapons go. Usually you see that Halberd, because it does power melee and splash damage. The Demon Hammer just does 100 DPS melee, no splash, although it does have a disruptive ability that sends units flying, literally flying. Noise Marines right here from Kalzi4 are going for a Gen Bash. Kalzi4 now does have some Plague Marines out to deal with that Las Cannon Rhino. And Inquisitorial Stormtroopers they actually force melee with the Noise Marines, which is actually a really bad idea. I'm pretty sure Noise Marines, just because of how much health they have, will actually beat out the Stormtroopers in melee. And I think Kalzi4 should have actually not used the ability there, not used Cacophony, should have actually kept doing melee damage, because I think they would have done more damage and potentially even wiped that squad. Strike Squad upgraded to Justicars. We did see that offensive ability from them, but the Strike Squad the Strike Squad's not in trouble. The Sorcerer's in trouble. Gets out of there with 18 health. Over here, more Orcs dying. No, Tyranids dying. Lots of Tyranids dying. Floid taking model losses, but not losing any squads. I've been noticing that Floid seems to be pretty good with unit preservation in these crazy 3v3s. It's so easy to lose units in 3v3s, and I personally find that it's especially very difficult to do that when you're playing with really good players. There have been a few times where I played with some really good players and I found myself losing units really quickly. Brood Nest from here, probably going to go down. Taking damage, yes, definitely going to go down. Brood Nest reinforces Tyranid units, and now it's actually blue team that's pushing up, pushing red back to their base. Floyd's being pushed back to his base, preserving his units, but ultimately losing that field presence. This Las Cannon Rhino has been upgraded to the Las Cannon, but is actually does not have vehicle armor. Has not been upgraded to vehicle armor, which is kind of surprising. Although I've kind of been wondering if you should necessarily get vehicle armor, because keeping it the way it is now, it'll actually be able to survive better against the Plague Marines. But it will also be vulnerable to regular ranged fire, and especially any anti-SHI like Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines or Plasma. Shotgun Blast from the Kommando knob, fully kitted out, but might go down here, getting chased by Banshees, but I think those Banshees certainly do have to run a lot. I think they will get a hit in there right there, and that plate, yeah, that Kommando knob is dead. Warp Spiders out for HolyHammer, double Warp Spiders, one actually got by the call-in, and now we have a back cap from this strike squad from Dark Riku. Riku running with a really lean army, goes all the way to tier 3 with only 3 units, and is probably now going to focus on getting Paladins, a Land Raider Crusader, or Grey Knight Terminators. So the blue team has pushed in so far that they're now capping Red's natural victory point. These Shooter Boys, we have a lot of ranged DPS right here from double Shooters and Tzeentch Chaos. Oh, actually not Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines, just regular Chaos Space Marines. But with the Aspiring Champion and also with Eternal War. So a lot of ranged fire, although not as much as if they had Tzeentch. Stick Bombers now, throwing stick bombs. Oh, over there, tosses, actually doesn't toss Orcs, toss Tyranids over, but then they kind of get stuck on this little mountain thing right here. I don't know if Floyd was even expecting that. Well, that's kind of funny. I thought you could only send your own units with over there. I mean, clearly, there are a lot of ways you can... There are interesting team combos when you have different races together that would not normally be possible when you are only playing by yourself. But sometimes not everything works that way. Like, I'm pretty sure that the Commissar can not execute friendly units. Or at least he cannot execute friendly units of other races. Maybe he can execute friendly allied guardsmen. Shooter boy flank might even wipe these heretics. Heretics at very little health, but they're actually focusing on the Guardian weapon team, which is probably the more important flank. Shooter boys do almost die though. And look at this build. Look at this build. 2 Shooter Boys, Weird Boy, new Sluggers, and now double stick bombers from Boris T Rat. Quite a build. Hormagon squad just barely gets out of there. And I think this Rhino might be in a little bit of trouble. I think it got haywired. It's certainly taken a little bit of damage. And this Brother Captain might be in trouble right now, getting focus fired and now getting force meleeed by Warp Spiders, but he does have a ton of health. Warp Spiders do teleport again, and they do get that Bro Captain down. And Riku floating a ton of resources, 1,500 requisition, almost 300 power, going for that Land Raider Crusader. But he does not have the red for it yet. So we have a double Warp Spider build from HolyHammer. That's going to be an extremely powerful build. Warp Spiders actually have the highest DPS of, I think, just about any ranged unit, any tier 2 ranged unit. Terminators with the assault cannon will do more than them. Don't know about the autocannon actually for the Chaos Terminators. There's that Land Raider Crusader. And Dark Riku actually dropping his Land Raider Crusader right in the middle of a lot of units. Actually gets haywired, so now it kind of can't do anything. It's kind of dropped in there without too much support. But most of the units that are here right now will not do too much damage to this Land Raider Crusader. Land Raider Crusader already taking about 400 damage though, and its support is getting blown up by stick bombs. Kalzi4 does have that aspiring champion on his Heretic squad, so that they won't, they'll just be able to tank a little bit more damage. And those grenade launcher Heretics did actually do a lot of damage to these Hormagaunts. Looks like, oh man, looks like Boris T Rat is now kind of overpowering Angry Bird. He does have a bigger build. He's got like 6 units and his Warboss compared to Angry Bird's Kommando knob and his 4 units. So we're getting a retreat definitely now from Angry Bird. Tyranids are here as well, kind of supporting, also getting this cap on their own natural victory point. And no one has that middle. No one braving that middle. And one of the things, I mean, this Bro Captain is really tough to deal with in a lot of ways because he can be so tough, but Eldar is certainly a race that I think can deal with the Bro Captain pretty well. Certainly right now with double Warp Spiders. Warp Spiders are one of the best counters to tanky melee heroes in the game, since they do extremely good damage, about 100 DPS piercing with the Exarch, and then they can just teleport to kite tanky melee heroes. And I mean, if the melee hero just gets close to them, they just teleport out. Strike Squad uses the offensive ability on the Warp Spiders, but does not really kill them. Dueling Weird Boys, shooting shots. A stun goes down, stun bomb from that Kommando knob. Meanwhile, fully kitted out, special shooter, boom time, and stick bombs. That boom time is going to make his explosives better. And he also has the stick bombs, and then he has that special shooter. It's a shotgun. Has an ability similar to the scout shotgun ability, except it actually does damage too. Actually really good at giving models on high model, low HP squads, and can even be used as a melee counter as well. Chaos kind of pushing up here. Chaos with a pretty lean build, and to be honest, Chaos right now has a fairly kind of a low power build. And I don't mean power as in the resource. I mean it's not that powerful of a build. I mean, you have the Heretics right there. They're actually kind of powerful. Certainly the Chaos Space Marines will do a lot of damage with the Mark of Tzeentch. I don't know. In a way, it kind of is powerful, but in a way, it's kind of not. You don't quite have the overwhelming DPS of these Warp Spiders in that Chaos build, or a lot of the disruptive as much of disruptive artillery as you would with double stick bombers. And it's interesting. I kind of play Chaos, and they are a high DPS race, but they're not as much of a high DPS race as Eldar or Orcs. I guess in that sense, I think they're a little bit more efficient, and you can kind of run around with maybe fewer units. Blue pushing up here, getting another decap on Red's natural. Red still with the lead though, and lots of stick bombs going off, killing a lot of Floyd's models. Floyd still has enough resources to reinforce those models, and he can reinforce them right here, so he still has that field presence. Floyd, meanwhile, now with this Venom Cannon Carnifex, going to be doing AV damage, and unlike the Venom Cannon Hive Tyrant, it's still good at melee, even with the Venom Cannon. And I think something went down there, but I'm not sure. We do have Flash Kits from Angry Bird, have been upgraded to Blastas. They're kind of like Melt-A-Guns, or maybe like Plasma Cannons, but a big shot from that looted tank disrupts and does a lot of damage to all these shooters, and that Warboss from Angry Bird just kind of goes down right there, in against too many other Orcs. Alright, we have a Fire Prism out from HolyHammer. He seems to like the Fire Prism, and I think the Fire Prism is very good, but it needs to watch out. Does take out the Rhino, but I was going to say it needs to watch out. So that Rhino, I like to call it a Tier 2 Predator, because it has a las cannon, and basically it's a fast AV unit in Tier 2. We did see on the tooltip before, I don't know if you saw it, but I was looking at it, it only does 20 DPS armor piercing compared to the like 50-something of the Predator. So it doesn't do nearly as much damage, but it's still ranged AV on a very mobile unit, a very fast unit in fact. So in that sense, I think it's a pretty good choice. We now have those Paladins, I think. Yes, the Paladins from Dark Riku are going to be doing heavy melee damage, chasing down that Fire Prism. And HolyHammer does not really have great counters to those Paladins. He does not really have anti-SHI, except for his Howling Banshees. He could probably afford to get some Dark Reapers. He can certainly afford it literally in terms of the resources, and it would be very helpful for him in terms of just having that ranged anti-super heavy infantry. Double Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines, though, are going to be doing a lot of damage. So we see that Kalzi4 has upgraded. We see that Rod of Warpfire. We've seen him use it a little bit. Basically, it has an ability that does... It's basically an ability that's a plasma cannon. It does plasma cannon damage, and it does knockback. So plasma cannon damage, doing bonus damage to heavy infantry and super heavy infantry. And it's also just good as area of effect. Has those Robes of Torment. Will snare and immobilize melee, or will snare and immobilize any unit, but especially good against melee units, especially good against this Grey Knight Bro Captain, who is getting a sync kill with that big-ass Nemesis Demon Hammer. We have phase armor from the War Spider Exarch, only the phase armor, no other upgrades. And wow, that Bro Captain, he teleports right into a bunch of Eldar. Does use the ability on the Nemesis Demon Hammer, but that ability, unfortunately, teleporting right in there, unfortunately caused him to get wiped. We do have a Land Raider Crusader from Kalzi4. Has las cannons on the side, will be doing AV damage, but is not targeting this Carnifex. And somebody has said this before, I think, basically that when the... Oh, and now the Land Raider Crusader, I mean not Land Raider Crusader, Land Raider Phobos is in a corner, and I think it will die to this Carnifex. This is a Venom Cannon Carnifex, and it is really sad to see a Land Raider go that way. But what we kind of saw there was that the Land Raider Phobos was not really... Its auto-targeting was not going after the Carnifex, and it really needed to. I think if it had auto... I mean, the Land Raider Phobos probably would have been dead anyway, but it could have threatened the Carnifex even more if it was actually targeting the Carnifex with its las cannons. But those las cannons seem to be shooting at other units. Decap now. Red gonna decap blue's natural, but then blue decapping red's natural. It's kind of a weird reversal. Double flash gets, double blast of flash gets out from Angry Bird. This is going to be a ridiculous range build. Gonna wipe these stick bombs, and now Boris has no stick bomb. It's really sad. Does some knockback with that big shot, but he knocked over his own Warboss, and his Warboss is dead. So big range battles. Oh, Boris losing too many of his units, unfortunately. I mean, with these competing range blobs, the flash kits do definitely win. Just that area of effect damage and just a lot of damage. Angry Bird's sitting on enough red to do 2 rocks. He should start doing like one soon so that he actually has enough time to do another one. I mean, he's already sitting on 999 red. And even after once he uses the rocks, he will actually have enough red to cast it again, but it will also be on cooldown. Phase armor now combined with that. Wow, look, that was a really good Eldritch Storm. Takes out the Carnifex. I think it also took out some other units, but that's and kind of an old combo. Now the rocks. Fortunately, the rocks just kind of missing stuff. I think, yeah. But I mean that's okay because Angry Bird now has enough red to do another one. Oh, and subjugated Paladins actually hitting on that Land Raider Crusader. Good use of the subjugation. That's actually a reason why you should generally not get Terminators or other infantry super units when you are playing against the Chaos Sorcerer, because he can mind control them, turn them against you, and then that usually turns the engagement in his favor as long as he can keep the Sorcerer alive, although it can be difficult to keep the Sorcerer alive. And these flash kits doing a ton of damage. A Tyranno formation went off as well. I did not quite see it, and did not really notice it happening, and did not really comment on it. Shooters from Angry Bird going down. Meanwhile, HolyHammer loses Howling Banshees, still has those double War Spiders as well as his Fire Prison. And now a Chaos Predator. Chaos Predator running around unupgraded. Going to be at a little bit of a risk now from this Grey Knight Dreadnought with the Melta. Paladins going for a decap right here, and now in fact going for the cap. They are snared. Tome of Subjugation must be on cooldown, and or Kalzi just does not have the energy. There we go. Tome of Subjugation goes off. That at least gets the Paladins off the cap, and he should also use the teleport if it's not already on cooldown. Tome of Subjugation has been nerfed. Well, they've supposedly nerfed They, in the latest patch, they did decrease basically the duration of Tome Subjugation, which in some ways is a nerf, in some ways it's actually a buff, since it's mainly a buff since the price got cost as well. And now another Rocks must have taken out a few units. I gotta stop talking about Tome Subjugation and look for where all the action is going on. Another Rocks. I think that was actually a Rocks from Boris. We can expect to see another Rocks from Angry Bird, I think. And this Fire Prism right here from HolyHammer. Fire Prisms are very good. It's basically a plasma cannon on a tank. And on a very mobile tank. And it's also more accurate than most regular plasma cannons. So, Hive Tyrant right here has been upgraded to Crushing Claws, heavy melee, most powerful commander melee weapon in the game. Will be good against vehicles. Also has bonded exoskeleton to make him invulnerable. Very tough die. Commando Knob from Angry Bird right here, going for a flank. Gonna try to wipe that Fire Prism, I think. That's his goal. And an Orbital Bombardment now. So Angry Bird takes a few shots, and I think he's gonna get that Fire Prism. Yes, he does. And this Predator in a little bit of trouble, kind of parked right in between beams, and ultimately dies. This might be the game right here, unless Blue can get a decap off, but it actually looks like it's going to be the game. And then there goes an Imperial Abyss, just for the fun of it. Wipes out one of Floyd's squads. I think that was a Warrior Brood. I think this will be the game for the red. It'll just be the game, unless this decap can go down right here, but I don't think that's going to happen. Disruption from Infestation. Yes, this is going to be the game. So obviously, not actually that close of a game in terms of the victory points, but I thought it was a pretty good game in terms of all the killing. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.